Hi, this is Travis from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this clip on the Political Voices Network.
Yeah, you wrote a great piece from Edward Snowden to Donald Trump stealing America's secrets for ego, enemies, and idiots is a new national security threat that was entirely foreseeable. And I talk a little bit about why you talked about like you and other intelligence professionals waited a minute to talk about this. You said, let me give you a little bit of education as to why intelligence professionals do not speak quickly on matters of state security, because every one of us swears an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Many of us were entrusted with the knowledge gleaned through human spies, sensitive technical intelligence collection, or a myriad of other sources that constitute America's secrets. Those of us who are not talking are the ones deserving of our praise.
Well, we found this new phenomenon where before, and I've written about this several times in my book, and if you go see this week's Black Man Spy podcast, where I read a segment from The Plot to Betray America about how spies recruit, and they do it through four factors. First, money, ideology, coercion or co-option, and ego and excitement. Well, the old days, spies were all about money. Yeah. I had a guy compromise when I was at the National Security Agency, a multi-billion-dollar secret program for $36,000 to pay his taxes. If you could just imagine that, That's just nuts. Aldrich Ames received over $1.5 million, sent Soviet spies to their death. They don't do that anymore. We're not seeing the money factor or even the ideology factor or compromise. We are seeing ego. It is all about them gaining notoriety, being seen as the big dog on, I don't know, a Discord communication server where a bunch of 13-year-olds are playing Call of Duty with you, and you want to seem like the big man in that group. Yeah. That is where we are seeing trouble. And to be honest, really started with Edward Snowden. Snowden emptied out two agencies, and in doing so, bragging rights. That's why he released some of the most top secret documents we had, so he could brag to his teen friends.
And you said Texiera, is his name, was not only charged with the release of government documents, but also be investigated under the Espionage Act. That means they believe he's working under the influence or for the benefit of a foreign power. The arrested gun parent is a far cry from impressing your friends on a computer gaming platform, but I guarantee the prison sentence he will end up will impress everybody. I mean, let's talk about that the former president basically did the same thing, and we haven't seen accountability yet for that, right?
If I can point out, Reality Winter, who thought she was exposing Donald Trump's collusion with the Russians, she stole one document and got 5 years before her sentence was commuted. Sierra, this guy's going to prison for a good piece of the rest of his life, probably 50 years or more. No questions asked. We had another one, a guy, CIA officer, another IT guys. By the way, it's all these IT managers who are not actually analyzing or using the intelligence, but are responsible for the transmission of these. Edward Snowden was the biggest. Yeah. Right?
Was and is, or whatever we want to call it, what do we call what he is with Russia? I don't even know. right?
A traitor, bro. Yeah. I just think that, I understand Reality Winter. She was a cryptologic linguist like me. She's an idiot, right? She ideologically thought that piece of paper would break the whole story wide open. Here's how you break the story wide open. Don't release classified and let the laws work the way that they're supposed to work. But see, Snowden started this avalanche, right? He said, I'm exposing U.S. surveillance operations. No, he didn't. He exposed every operation, including one I swore that I would die over. I would die before I would expose that information. He just did it for amusement. It's fun. Now he's when Russia wants to trot him out as an example of how, someone who's supposedly a good American spy, they bring Snowden out to talk about network security. He'll probably be praising this kid. But Fox News, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and every right-winger right now is praising this traitor. Yeah. And that shows you that's how far they're going to die to support Donald Trump, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw this story.
Die on that hill.
Kremlin agent, I mean, it's not like Russia's stopped. Kremlin agents meddled in Florida election with eyes on presidential race, according to a new indictment. Federal grand jury charged 4 U.S. citizens, 3 Russian nationals with working with Kremlin intelligence services to conduct a multi-year political influence campaign. They also worked to create the appearance of American popular support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I mean, here we go again. And I don't know,
Good
by the way.
example of Russian intelligence, the FSB literally handling Russian citizens, U.S. citizens who are related to this crazy African, American group down in Florida, hoping that they would old Soviet style influence U.S. activities. But if you read the indictment, the Russian FSB officers are like, get out of this local Florida election with some city council member, start influencing the U.S. presidential election. And there's another person who's going to have her day in court, right? It's this woman who was a former, it disgraces me to even say it, U.S. Navy chief, right? Who I think her name is Suzanne Bills, who called herself Donbass Devoshka.
Yeah.
She was the first person to take the secret documents from Teixeira, all right, and change them and distribute them around the Discord net and take Russian money, it is alleged, from Prigozhin, the head of PMC Wagner, while she was in the U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
That's Espionage Act stuff.
Well, and by the way,
this story's going to go so far. But she did it for ego, too.
Yeah, and by the way, Tucker Carlson did all her talking points.
That's right.
All her talking points about how well, Russia's doing in the war and Ukraine's losing and yada, yada, yada. I mean, like I was saying, I mean, I'm happy for the, Dominion that, there's some accountability. There's almost $1 billion of accountability, but it doesn't stop Fox from continuing to lie about other things, including Russia and Ukraine every night, right?
Yeah, well, and right now, Fox is essentially running what I call traitorama, right? I mean, every night they're supporting these people who have betrayed the nation. This is fundamental betrayal. These are things that the United States needs to function, to keep its citizens and our allies safe, right? They give the Russians the upper hand in killing people in an act of war by putting this stuff out. This isn't anything that's really going to help us. Here's Tucker Carlson, right? Hero of Russia, who's going to be sleeping next to Steven Seagal someday in a trench in Ukraine, I certainly hope, and with Edward Snowden, who's going to go out and bring them coffee. I mean, this is just their mindset is any America that is not Trump's America is a wrong America.
Yeah.
Right? And this is why I wrote all this in the Substack. Go read the Substack. I mean, it's just, it's when I get out and start ranting on paper, or electronically, I got something to say about it. And it's also, I'm talking about it in this week's Black Man Spy podcast.
Yeah.
Traitorama.
Which, by the way, I was on. It's a fantastic podcast. I highly recommend it. Not just the one I was on.
You were great.
But, I mean.
The prettiest.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Malcolm.
Get a room.
No, but, I think it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know people like, you use the word traitor. She's a traitor. She is a traitor. She's involved in January 6th. She is standing up for this traitor because he's a white, racist like she is, right? I mean, who's leaking America's national security secrets. I don't know if you saw, what was this thing, Travis? She's on the Homeland Security Committee, Malcolm, and she was blabbing about some documents she saw, I think trying to totally misconstrue them. Give me this, number 16, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
We just finished reviewing the financial records in the Treasury. What I saw was over 2,000 pages of jaw-dropping information. There's basically an enterprise wrapped around Joe Biden involving not only multiple family members, more than we thought there were, but other people as well. Just a complete conglomerate of LLC shell companies where money was passing through from foreign countries, China, Ukraine, but many more countries than just those.
Oh my God. So the headline, Malcolm, is Marjorie Taylor Greene may have spilled confidential government documents. But first of all, she's making a bunch of innuendos that are completely unproven, but talking about stuff that she's not supposed to be talking about.
By the way, that speech she gave there sounded so much better in the original Russian. I mean, what she's saying is she saw documents and then she made up all the rest of them. That Joe Biden has shell companies, is doing this, and engaged in massive human trafficking of prostitutes and blah, 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 to make this insane link to, let's be honest, you know where she's going, a universal field theory of everything bad in America between, that Donald Trump actually did, right? Pay off hookers.
Yeah.
Now they want to tie all this to Joe Biden.
Yeah,
this woman is a disgrace. She's using the protections of her being in Congress against her. And in any other Congress, she would have been kicked out.
Yeah, I saw somebody asked James Comer, the guy from Kentucky, have you found any actual, criminal wrongdoing by Biden? He's like, no, but there are things that should be illegal. Like, wait, what?
Oh, my God.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It is. And, she will self-destruct. She's one of those people who will go too far. Or we're going to find out that she was more deeply involved in January 6th than most people knew.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I mean, people like this just cannot help themselves. She will disclose classified and claim that it was part of her job as Congress, and we're gonna see whether that works out for her. Yeah. Mark my words. That's an easy one for me to predict.
The Substack, you've got to read the Substack. Yeah. We have linked to it. Also, Black Man Spy is the podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. Malcolm, we love you. See you next week.
Republicans say they won't cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But can honest, hard-working middle-class Americans really believe what these politicians say? Republicans said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's what Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett said during their Senate confirmation hearings.
Roe v. Wade is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. A good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court.
Roe v. Wade. It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court.
Roe is not a super precedent, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Well, we saw how that turned out. They played us for fools. Tell your elected officials to keep their hands off of our Social Security and healthcare benefits.